All right, joining me now in studio at this moment, on this 26th day of February 2018 once again, we host the Turkana Governor and Chairperson of the Council of Governors, Josephat Nanok. We'll be talking about oil, drought and politics right now. Governor, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you for finding time to be here with us.
Thank you, Waiga.
Great. You've been governor for the last 5 going on 6 years or so. 5 years to be quite exact. What do you feel have been some of your successes so far?
Thank you. I think I'm serving my second term now. The first term of 1.5 years was a little bit challenging. As you know, devolution was that was the beginning of implementing it. So all the county governments were establishing building structures, building systems, employing personnel, particularly technical personnel. And then the challenges of also competing demands and the lack of sufficient resources and then the capacity for implementing. So far we've made tremendous changes in spite of all that. Tremendous changes in all the vital sectors that have been developed, but then challenges still remains. And the second term will be a focus on working on those, including the biggest challenge we had then was the issue of devolution, which of course several structures felt, but I think that there were a lot of power plays in that, and there was a lot of conflicts between the national government and the county governments. But now, moving into the second phase, we are collaborating much more. I think the emphasis now is collaborating much more so that we can be able to deliver much more to the residents of the citizens of Kenya.
Okay. I get the feeling you've talked a little bit about Turkana itself in terms of answering the question of the book that you carry with the names of people that I guess you support or they support you, etc. But in addition, so much more on the same. Let's talk a little bit about water availability in Turkana County. In Lodwar town, there's an aquifer called Napu. I don't know if you have the details there. It was meant to provide water for all of Turkana. As of now, residents of a village of Narewa, that's 1.2 kilometers from the region, residents of Kanam Kemer, residents of Kanan IDP, and residents of Kawalase do not have piped water. The water is available in another town, that's Lodwar town. Why has it taken so long to connect the pipes?
Thank you, Kahiga. I think specifically talking about Turkana, because one of the biggest challenge on delivering water over the last 53 years has been the issues of water. We found that problem there, and that problem continues. But what we have done is to try as much as possible minimize the lack of access to water. Within Lodwar, where an aquifer was discovered, actually a freshwater aquifer, Napu, we were able to drill about 6 boreholes. The largest one, which we drilled a few months ago, is yielding 110 cubic meters. We had contracted this work earlier to a contractor, but and that one, and also on the other part of the town, Kanam Kemer. But essentially, these contractors didn't do a good job. So we were able, immediately after election, to connect the water in Nakwamekwe, and that water is now in the village. I think it's almost serving 70% of the village, and we're still extending it. The one in Napu, we've just entered a memorandum of understanding with the National Pipeline Authority to be able to extend that pipeline and supply water the whole of Kanam Kemer. And then we have linked up also with the National Treasury and through the Rift Valley Water Services Board to extend the water from where we will take it up to, and we construct a huge receiver that will hold almost 1 million tons, 1 million liters, to extend that to outlying villages about 17 kilometers where the water is very saline. So we hope that in the next 3-4 months we can be able to achieve that and solve the problem.
In the next 3-4 months, that means April, May, that should be a matter of the past. What do you say to those who feel that...
Maybe let me just mention, there are many other places that we have water challenges. Like now, rural Turkana is a bigger challenge, particularly with the heat. Remember, there has been a very huge heat rush in Turkana the last 1 month.
Yes.
So water sources have dried up. We've tried a combination of things. One is water tankering. The other one is increased the number of personnel working on broken down boreholes, and we are also now focusing on building huge dams. There is particularly one huge dam around Kakuma town, near the refugee camp, which we are combining effort with Kenya Red Cross and UNHCR to put up a large dam that is going to support almost 500,000 population, including doing irrigation.
Okay.
So we hope
do you feel at any point that you need to change the minds of Turkana residents to how they deal with some of these things? Do you get the feeling many times that the reason why they come back to you is because they're not able to properly harness and in a sense retain that which is important about the county of Turkana?
Essentially, for the basic Turkana, water is an issue. Water for livestock, water for domestic use, water for irrigation. It's a big priority. But that doesn't mean that all the other sectors are not priorities.
Okay.
What I've done is to prioritize water and give it a much higher allocation of resources. And also drive the effort to work closely with partners, development partners, to be able to put more resources into the water sector. Okay.
We have some pictures from Turkana County. We can play them even as the interview continues. Your county has directed almost, we did rough figures here, about 3.7 billion Kenya shillings through the water ministry since 2013. You had promised to pipe water, first of all, to residents of Turkana Central and then Turkana at large. What have you done? Very little connection for those, for those around the aquifer. What have you done to deal with that?
We've done significant connections. I think half the population of Karamkemer is applied from the aquifer. We are using the same water to irrigate about 65 acres of horticulture, which we have given to the local people. They are the ones managing it, and we are supporting it with extension work. It is drip irrigation. We have also improved water across all the existing old boreholes, working with partners also to improve solarize it, to solarize the water. Worked closely with KPLC, because sometimes the problem of water supply in Lodwar is when the generators, the very old generators, Kenya Power is using. So when they break down, then the water pumping becomes a problem. But we're working on all that and collaborating to make sure that that effort is utilized. As you know, it is a growing urban area. This Lodwar is the fastest growing town in the country. So essentially, as population increases, the needs for water and the needs for health and the needs for all the other essentials increases. So this is something that we have to adapt to, so that every year we've got to look at the new challenges and expand water and make sure that it is spread. And this is not, we may supply Kanamkemer now, but in future with the infrastructure we are working on, the tarmacking we are doing in town, the national trunk road, which the national government is working on. Once all those are in place, a lot of people may be moving in, others to invest, others to settle, because there are new opportunities that are coming up in a new municipality. So we will see that issues of water are not going to go away. The only thing that government has to do is to be proactive and plan ahead.
Proactive and plan ahead. We have some pictures now that we want to put up on your screen. Can we see the first set, please? That should be coming up on your screen shortly, just to give some perspective to where we are and where that county is. Let's start by taking a look at water. So this is these are people queuing for water in places where they could have gotten this either in their homes or within a more centralized location, but right now it's pretty much everyone for themselves. What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you. I think you'll have to realize that a lot of water supply in Turkana, apart from urban areas, has been from boreholes. People go to get water from boreholes. It's only in a number of it's about not more than 20 urban settings where piping water has been done. Some of it not directly to the houses, but to a point where people can be able to walk a few meters to get the water. So essentially this is a challenge of a water table going down, or it's probably, from that picture, it's probably the pumping that has not brought the water to that particular tank. I know this is a challenge. I know we experienced a similar situation in a place called Kalokol, next to the lake, where there have been perennial breakages of water. Getting clean water is a challenge, but we are putting effort to do a combination of things. 2 weeks ago, my technical staff were on ground, and they were able to rehabilitate the borehole and the piping, and water is going in. It's not sufficient. I think we want to utilize, the next thing that we want to plan for this particular area is to block the water so that we have a dam and a reservoir that can give us a sustainable solution. But second, also using county government resources plus the equalization funds, if the funds come, is to pipe water from Elie Spring, which is a clean water source, 34 kilometers away from Kalokol, to be able to provide sufficient water for the population. But I know that the town is growing. It may go. It's going to go green very soon with the
Lodwar town.
Kalokol, with the solar grant we've gotten from the German Development Bank. So essentially, what will happen, and the fishing industry is also going to be revamped. So there's going to be a lot of population coming in. So even water demand is going to surpass what the current capacity will be providing.
Allow me to interrupt you to get a little bit more details in regards to the water, whatever challenges there might be with water in Turkana County. Let's listen in.
Sasa shida hapa hivi inakuanga sisi tunatokanga manyumbani saa 12 ya usiku. Ikipambazuka hivi. Sasa wakati inapambazuka tunakuja tunapanga laini hapa hivi. Tunapanga laini hapa hivi. Tunakaa hapa hivi, ile kazi ambayo ingetarajia itusaidie tunawacha yote nyumbani. Hakuna, huwezi ona hata watoto wadogo ambao uliwacha nyumbani. Huwezi ona hata kuku yako ambayo uliwacha nyumbani. Unakuja unaketi kwa maji. Unaketi kwa maji, mshoe hii laini inafika huko kwa barabara.
Governor, on the same note but on a slightly different topic, a drought is upon us.
Yeah.
What are your plans to mitigate a drought in your country? You've been governor for 5 years plus. What short and long-term measures have you put in place?
Thank you. I think the droughts in Kenya will definitely not go away. I think it's only barely 8 months since we were tackling another drought last year. And I'm lucky that at that time we had to revise our budgets to get sufficient money to focus on drought intervention. Essentially, at the moment, we are doing quite a number of things. One, rehabilitating broken down boreholes. Second, we have a drilling equipment that is moving around to drill more boreholes in areas where we believe there is sufficient water. That is to rehabilitate existing pipelines and water supplies in urban areas. I think that's the focus we're putting on. And then in certain areas, we can't avoid water tankering.
You can't avoid water?
We can't avoid water tankering. Tankering water from one place to the other. Because totally those areas have no water at all. Even if you drill, you may get alkaline water, which is very bad for people's stomach. The third is pastoralists normally will not wait for water because of their livestock. The more you wait, the more the livestock dies. So what normally happens is pastoralists move. And as I speak now, there is quite a big group of pastoralists along the Ugandan border, grazing on the Ugandan side of Karamoja, and drinking water from huge water reservoirs that the Ugandan government had established there.
And of course one of the things that you needed to go to Uganda.
One of the things that we've done is negotiate on. We've been in touch with the local authorities, the Minister of Karamoja Affairs, to harmonize issues and issues about peace, issues about security, issues about grazing, issues about vaccination. And as I speak now, tomorrow I have a team going up there to follow that one up. I followed this one up 1 month ago. So essentially, the relationships are very good at that corridor. We are also increasing vaccination of animals and surveillance. It's very high. And we are also increasing our preparation of water pans. Although for the longer term, we want to move away from water pans and then create much larger dams that can harvest more and more water.
I want to keep you within this discussion about drought. You had promised to make Turkana food secure by putting up various irrigation projects. Because your county at this moment basically imports food from other counties. You had promised to make it food secure. Which irrigation projects have you done so far that are up and running?
We have put money into basically 12 irrigation schemes. We've put money into Katilo. To bring in seeds, to plow the farms. We bought even a tractor. We have 3 irrigation schemes around there, Nakwamoru, Kaputir, I can't remember the other one. Those are almost 60% complete.
What about Kana Ondon, where a contractor was allegedly paid 150 million Kenya shillings, but up until now, from what we are told, nothing has been done?
I'm not aware about the payments. I don't have the details.
You don't have the details.
But I'm telling you that that's work that was continuing. What we've done, if their projects haven't been done, what I have asked, directed for an audit. We will be taking action on all the projects that are pending and where payments have been done. We will be reviewing all that, and we hope that within this particular year, most of all the irrigation schemes, about 5 of them, most of the irrigation schemes that about 5, there are 4 that are not yet complete. Say 3 because the 4th one, the river water changed course. And then it wasn't able to do the irrigation canal. So we've put in technical people to relook again how best we can be able to get the water.
What do you know about Kana Ondon? For now, what can you tell us about the irrigation scheme at Kana Ondon?
I won't have the details now.
You don't have the details.
I won't have the details.
What about Nakwamoru?
Nakwamoru?
Yes.
Nakwamoru, I can say is almost the canal was done.
Okay.
The clearing of the scheme was continuing. The big trees had not been removed. So from the report I have gotten from my technical team, this is the work that is supposed to be completed within this year.
That's the work that is okay. Yeah. Let's take a look briefly at the Turkana Turkwell River. You had planned to put up an irrigation scheme along the river or on the sides. You'd also promised other irrigation schemes such as Moruese, now Ross irrigation scheme amongst others. Briefly tell us about the 3 that I've mentioned, starting with Turkwell River.
All these irrigation schemes you've talked are all along the Turkwell River.
Okay.
Whether it's in Akwamoru, whether it is Kaputir, whether it's Kanawodon, whether it's Katilo, whether it's Muriese, and whether it's Kakwanyang, all those ones are across that river. Muriese, the other one you just mentioned now, and these are new ones we were planning to come and open up. It haven't yet begun. We're going to be opening up. I think you may have to realize that across the country we rationalized the number of projects we were using, particularly because of the delays in cash disbursement and of course the pending bills which we committed ourselves to relay off that belong to contract suppliers and contractors who are done work. So essentially the ones that haven't been begun, we will still be able to focus on them once we finish the old ones.
What happens to the people who are there, the people who would have relied on them? They have to travel long distances, Governor. They have to put in a lot more work to get the normal water that they would have gotten if the irrigation projects were done.
No, but you see, you realize you're working on some, you budget for them, and while you also point out new ones which you want to budget on.
Okay.
So this is not something that had begun. So essentially within that area also you have to realize that we've done a couple of projects, but there are also other projects which the National Irrigation Board was doing. And we hope that this financial year moving to the next one, that some of these projects will be harmonized so that they are all managed from one place.
From the county government?
I hope so.
Okay. Let me allow you to take a little bit of water even as I show you a different clip. Let's switch gears now and talk a little bit about oil revenue. We should have at least a picture or at least somebody speaking on the same as well. Whichever we have, let's put them on at the moment.
Itakompensate hiyo mambo ambayo tumepoteza land, mifugo yetu inakufa, tunataka kununua mifugo zingine. 10% itatusaidia kwa mambo mengi ya development ambaye inaendelea Turkana. Juu sasa mambo yetu mengi imeharibiwa na mambo ya mafuta. So tunaomba serikali na Talo Oil kama investor watuhakikishia kwamba hiyo 10% imepitishwa na bunge na imewekwa kwa sheria.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, let's switch gears now and talk about oil revenue. You recently appealed to professionals in the county, at least I read this in the Star, to present their views on oil revenue share to Parliament before the 28th of February. That is actually 2 days from today. You want 30% of the revenues. while President Uhuru Kenyatta has stated that he wants the local community to be entitled to only 5%, while the county should get either 10% or 5%. I think it's now 10%. But with the rider, that the amount should not exceed double the allocation from the national government. I believe these are details that you're familiar with. Do you feel that you're isolated, Governor, in the fight to get more money for your county?
Wahiga, I don't think I'll begin from the way you want to go. But, but I want to speak generally about
Go ahead, Governor.
This essential topic. I think the Constitution of Kenya provides guidelines provides the basis that natural resources should be equitably shared between government and communities where those resources have been received. And Parliament was supposed to legislate on this. So you are aware that the petroleum bill currently in the floor of the National Assembly, this is the second time it's being legislated. It was legislated earlier before the last term of Parliament came to an end. And then there was a memorandum that the President returned back to Parliament. And so the bill did not see light of day because it never converted into a law. But then Parliament has brought it back, and essentially the earlier bill was a product of consultations. Communities provided their input, leaders provided their input, and every other stakeholder provided their input, particularly where it came to issues about revenue sharing, issues about managing the resource, and issues about when the Constitution says government, which government? Is it just both levels or is one level of government? So essentially, that bill is there now, and the bill has provided certain percentages of revenue. It is now with the committee responsible for energy, and they gave a timetable on when views should be provided. Essentially, the feelings on the ground you will hear from every Turkana, particularly those affected and those living in the oil field, is that we think that we've lived through so many problems, water problems, health problems, livestock problems, lack of market, lack of education, but this is a God-given gift. But essentially, a nicer percentage should be provided of it. So those views will be hearing. And for me, when people raised it in the public meeting where I was, when I was swearing in the chief officers, I basically encouraged them. For those who have issues about the revenue share, whether they agree with it or whether they disagree with it, or whether there are other aspects within that bill that they need to challenge, then let them raise those things in a memorandum and be able to bring this memorandum in front of the National Assembly. And what I will ask in the National Assembly, once they get this memorandum, it will be good for them to give them a voice. Because essentially, the ratios that are now in the bill, the revenue shares in the bill, the 5% community, the 20% county, when they were put in there, because at first Parliament said they had a different ratio, and then the bill was withdrawn, returned back, I think it would be good again to listen to the people so that they can put in their input.
What do they want?
I think it's very critical.
But
also, there could be a strong justification for 10% and 20%. There could also be a very strong justification against capping, because the views that people have is that, why cap revenue? Why don't you ask that the county government legislates to be able to manage that 10% and 20% in a way that they can only utilize what the absorption capacity can agree?
Why did
let's establish a county sovereign fund that keeps the money there and makes sure that this money is utilized and prudently. And in budgetary cycles, you can only utilize what can be done. So essentially, those are the views, and I ask people to present the views. Let me just explain. The county government, because they were saying, what do you have to say, Governor? And I was advising them what to do. So if I don't advise them, then what sort of leader I will be? Who will? So I told them present. The county assembly has told me they're going to be presenting a memorandum to Parliament. The county government, which I oversee, are going to be preparing a memorandum to Parliament. The Council of Governors, at the same time, is also going to be presenting a memorandum over the same issues, particularly
and this
where,
is all very soon, of
particularly where county government's engagements on natural management of a natural resource is going to be. I think you have to realize that exploration of oil is going on across the country.
Yes.
It's not only Turkana. Turkana may have found oil, but the chances of getting oil in Nyanza, the chances of getting it in Kajiado, the chances of getting it in Northeastern, along the coast province, is very high. So essentially, this is not just a resource for Turkana. So what we are legislating is a legislation for Kenya to cover for future fines about oil. So I hope that Parliament, in its wisdom, will see the need of equitably sharing this resource with an area that has had very, very biggest challenges.
Between those
the only important thing is to make sure that this resource is managed prudently, and that there is a fund that is kept aside, and this fund is managed well, and this fund, and what can only be utilized is resources that the county government and the communities can be able to absorb. Similar to the fund, the National Sovereign Fund, which is envisaged in the law, because essentially that puts in the excess money and only utilizes what the national government can be able to absorb.
What they can be able to absorb. There's a feeling, however, Governor, that former Senator John Munyes was appointed to the position of CS Petroleum and Mining to neutralize you. Do you agree with those who feel?
I think the president did very well by appointing John Munyes as the minister.
You think he did very well?
Because essentially during his first term, the Turkanas had requested that, and they took issues with him when he didn't appoint. I think this is a very big challenge for him now. I think it will be prudent for him to look at the interests of the nation, but at the same time also the interest of a local community in Turkana that has been suffering for these many years, and that the opportunity has come up now. So I don't
ready
see
to
that
work
it
with
was
him?
ill.
Are you ready to work with him? Are you ready to work with him?
Definitely, yes. I am the governor, and the governor must work with the Minister for Petroleum if we have to deliver on issues of mining and issues of petroleum. Likewise, he has to work with me because to access community land, to accept these issues in Turkana, he has to work with me.
Okay.
So there's no problem about
There's
that.
no problem.
Yeah.
As you sit down and look at the numbers, what's your final offer to the government in terms of the numbers that your county government would take and the people of Turkana would take? Or is it negotiable?
I will ask the national government, I will ask the President and the National Assembly.
Okay.
Because essentially at first we had asked for a negotiation. That negotiation has never come.
Never been forthcoming.
We've never had that negotiation. Essentially, even when issues were being raised over the first bill, we never sat down to discuss this. We hope that we will get that opportunity to be able to discuss, so that the rationale of the local community, the local government, the county government, is provided, and then a discussion ensues to get a mutual decision to move forward. Because we don't want a situation where oil becomes a curse for Kenya. We want a situation where this becomes a blessing for our country and for Turkana.
Fair enough. Do you still stand with 2010?
Pardon?
2010 as a percentage of the amount of oil that will be drilled in your county?
In the memorandum we will be presenting, we will be defending and justifying why 20% for county government and 10% for communities is required to be embedded in the law.
Okay, fair enough, Governor. Thank you for that. We have a clip about a bridge in your county, Governor. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts about this particular bridge. It's called the Nyarwega Bridge. I believe that's...
Let me correct you.
You've got it right. Thank you. Let's take a look at pictures of that bridge.
Seems you've gotten a very good brief from the ground.
And we have... Thank you, Governor, for acknowledging that I have a good brief on the ground. Let's take a look at the current pictures of this bridge from last year coming till today.
That's not the current picture.
That's not the current picture. No. Okay. Let's listen to what one or two residents... If very long time ago, it would be last year. I want to tell you what residents had to say last year. Then you tell me what's going on right now. Okay? If we have that...
That's not the current picture.
That bite, let's hear it.
Serikali ambao ilipeana pesa zetu za nchi yetu ikapeana kwa contractor ambao ajali maslahi ya Mturkana. Kwa sababu kuanzia mwaka hiyo 2014 mpaka 2017
hii daraja ile kidogo walikuwa wametengeneza, ile walikuwa wanasema ni ya materials, ya kusafirisha materials huko ngambo. At least ilikuwa inatusaidia, sababu kama mimi mwenyewe ni mfanyabiashara, mzigo wangu ikifika Kalemoro kwa center, hata kama ni saa 9 usiku ninasafirisha mpaka Juluku, siwezi pata shida yoyote. lakini saa hizi vile sasa imeporomoka hivi hakuna access iko, inabidi mzigo ilale Kalemoro, itafute pikipiki ya kubeba mpaka hapa, alafu tena nilipe ingine watu wa kubeba au kufugisha mto.
You have one of the largest counties in Kenya, second largest I believe, if I'm not wrong. Infrastructure is a challenge in that county. For example, a bridge like this one. We are told your county assembly in 2015 recommended 200 million to construct a bridge over that river, because when locals have to use that river, they have to face crocodiles, etc. We are told that something happened to the bridge, and those are the pictures that we showed you. And so the county government has now had to allocate more money for the construction of that bridge. Tell us, Governor, what is the current state of infrastructure such as that bridge?
Thank you, Kahiga. You know, I think the story of the bridge you're bringing up now, and the figures you're quoting, and the pictures you just shown, seems to be the very, very pictures my political opponents were flashing around on social media last year.
When they were campaigning against you?
Let me tell you.
Go ahead.
We gave, these works were contracted out an year and a half ago, and to construct a bridge.
So that's what, mid-2016?
Yeah, an year and a half ago, to
okay,
construct a proper bridge. At first, the contractor moved in, and the first thing he did was to reach out to the other side. You have to know that the distance at that time for going to this area was you go through almost 40 kilometers through Kainog, Takwel Gorge to reach Nakomoru.
Okay, okay.
And so the first thing the contractor did is to take materials on the other side. So he did a temporary bridge. So all those you were seeing that they were showing earlier there was a temporary bridge
that had been put
to enable his trucks and equipment to be able to take materials across.
Okay.
That wasn't the bridge.
Okay.
That was a temporary bridge. So the first thing is he began working on structures for the proper bridge.
Okay.
And then very heavy flooding came in. Very heavy flooding came in. And that is the flooding that swept off the structures, the pillars that had been built. Then he went back again. We relooked because the flooding affected even the edges of the bridge. And so we relooked at again, the BQs were worked on, we looked at again, and then he now came in to put a proper bridge. And that proper bridge, you don't have the pictures with you.
So there's as we speak right now, there's a proper bridge.
There's a proper bridge which is 75% complete. He's just finishing the cementing. This is where the contractor is as of now.
Okay.
There were delays, of course, between June and November and December. Basically, those delays resulted from payments, because our money also delayed. As you know, that no county got any development money at that particular time. So contractor who had also due for payments, and you know, local contractors don't have sufficient money, surplus money, to be doing these things. They use the money they have, expecting a certain form of down payment to be provided, and they utilize that again for building. And that's the challenge which local contractors are experiencing. To me, the bridge is on track, and I believe in a month, and the contractor said a month, but we want to give him 2 months for the benefit of doubts, that bridge is going to be more trouble. So essentially, the old pictures you are seeing are the ones political opponents are utilizing. And I don't have I mean, I'll tend to believe that information may even have been supplied by them. Because if you had...
No, Governor,
just a minute. If you had told me about this earlier, I would have brought you pictures and the true status of all the projects you have raised now.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Governor. What are you proudest about in your post as chairperson of the Council of Governors? What are your highlights?
Number one is that the Council of Governors is as strong as it used to be before, or even more stronger. Number two is why I'm saying it is strong, because the recent elections, when we did elections, despite the fact that I came from NASA, and majority of governors are from Jubilee,
yes,
they still ended up electing me to continue serving in office, basically because they knew this is a strong individual who is sitting in the office and can be able to steer the council forward. The third strongest point now is that we don't want acrimony. We have decided that we will work closely with the national government to be able to collaborate on many areas. And the first working was exhibited when we had the discussion, the negotiations over the budget allocation for the next financial year. We had a very good meeting, a negotiation. where we agreed on figures, where we agreed on a way forward, where we even agreed on working together to deliver the four national priorities of health, housing, food security, and manufacturing, essentially, which are all, of course, mandates of counties. But we said we will work closely to see that certain aspect of it are being delivered by county governments on behalf of the national government.
Why they
so that is our strength, and that strength was even exhibited the other day. There was an institution that was reviewing the capacity of all government institutions, and don't be surprised that overall we came, I think, 11th or 12th
as the Council of
all government institutions. Yeah.
Okay.
So the Council of Governors is as strong as it used to be. It is there to serve all the 47 county governments, and it is there to make sure that devolution is improved much better than what we did in the first term.
You say it is as strong as the previous regimes, but there are those who feel that you are now, whereas in the past your predecessors were constantly fighting, quote unquote, with the government, you now seem to have taken a more conciliatory tone. Why this change in direction for the Council of Governors?
The first phase of devolution was a very challenging phase. As I can tell you, I used to be a member of parliament before, and then you used to be the main man in that particular area. All powers emanated from you. But you see, the constitution created devolution created several layers of powerful offices and institutions. The county government was new at that particular time. It had taken a lot of powers, not only from members of parliament, but from national government also. So the same with members of county assembly. They were unlike the previous councillors that were there before. So essentially, the fear of this new arrangement was there. And so you expected a lot of grazing. And of course, there was give and take. Resources were being shared. We felt then at the council that we didn't get sufficient, and then the national government was reversing a lot of gains on devolution. So essentially, second phase, we need to take devolution forward. As you may have to realize that out of the 47 county governors, for the first time, Kenyans elected 3 women governors. And also, for the first time, that there are members who are former cabinet secretaries, former senators, former MPs, who were elected as governors. And vice versa. Some of the governors have become cabinet secretaries. And so second phase now is making sure that the gains of devolutions are gained, and then we do it much more.
Okay.
And we felt that diplomacy and collaboration will bring more benefit to devolution, will ensure devolution gains much more, will ensure that the 2 levels of government can be able to work hand in hand to be able to deliver services to Kenya.
Rather than hard stances that we have seen in the past. I ask you this because when you look at 2022, there are those who say that 2022 interests worked in your favor, that you are retained as chair because you are perceived to be tough, and thus no other governor would come out as a leading light affecting 2022 calculations, Governor. Does that make sense for you?
Let me tell you, I am an astounded leader. I may look soft, but I'm tough. I think I am principled on the issues. I believe that these issues are going to be beneficial to people. I think right now we're not talking about 2022. We are talking about...
There are many who are...
We just had election the other day. I think Kenya has to stop this. But the only thing about we are talking about is election is the next election. I think we must think about the economy. We must think about delivering service. The time for that election is going to come. It's not yet there. I think I have a mandate to deliver on my electoral mandate. I have a mandate from the governors to support devolution. So we've got to work and make sure we've told Kenyans that we've worked and we've delivered on it. So issues about 2022 will come. It's not now.
At the right time.
Kenya is not living. It's not about elections. It is about the economy. It's about developing the people. It's about developing our economy. It's about making sure that equity and inclusiveness is emphasized at all levels of government and at all levels of engagement. So issues about election will come. Definitely it will come. But it should not engage us now.
It should not engage us now, Governor, but you need to be planning. What do you plan to do post-2022, Governor? If you don't mind me asking.
Ask me about that in 2021.
In 2020.
I will be ready to engage with you what I want to do after that.
Okay. You're ready to engage with me what you want to do after that?
Yeah, and please invite me.
And I call you
invite
back.
me here, yeah. We can talk about that then.
Okay.
But right now, let's discuss about
the county,
how we deliver service and we make sure devolution works.
Okay. Yeah. My last question to you, Governor. Tell me briefly about your plans to increase or boost tourism within your county. In 2014-2015, you had 3 mega eco-tourist lodges funded by your government in order to boost tourism in your county. They were to be set up in Kainuk, Lokiriam, and Lokito Ngabarua. I hope I've said that right. Where? Okay.
The Tree of Women.
The Tree of Women. What's the status of those lodges, Governor?
Thank you. I think one of the issues about Turkana is not about oil. Oil has just given us...
oil is one of the...
Oil has given us a name.
Okay.
So everybody knows where Turkana is because of the oil. But to me, the future of Turkana is not the oil. The future of Turkana is going to be a pastoral economy and tourism.
Explain to me about the tourism.
They are tourism because I think from discoveries of archaeological discoveries, you may have to realize that we have the oldest human beings remains that have been found in Turkana. The Turkana boy, 1.7 million years old.
Okay, and we'll actually put some of them up on the screen for you.
And 13 million skull of an ape, which a carbon copy was provided to me the other day by Dr. Richard Leakey. It indicates that the fossils from Turkana really indicates that this is an area for humanity. So essentially, one of the things that we are working now with Dr. Richard Leakey and a team of scientists, and also with national government and communities, is to establish a science park for humanity in Turkana. Who's a science park for humanity, a very huge building that is going to be about 15-story and so many other things. So a lot of this is going to be coming up as we advance the discussions. And to me, this is going to be the magnet for tourism, the magnet for investment in Turkana. It's going to be larger than the oil. It's going to be larger than anything that we know in Kenya. It's going to be probably 20, 30, 50 times the numbers of tourism we keep talking about. And
tell me about
so towards that effort, the county engaged as a priority to construct 3 lodges. In the 3 places where you've mentioned, Lokriama, which is an access to Uganda, Kainuk area, Kainuk, an access towards West Pokot on the trunk road, and then Loktangaber in the lake. These lodges, when they were being constructed, faced many challenges. The one in Kainuk faced challenges of insecurity. As you know, that area was surrounded with bandits, Turkanas and Pokots. So those lodges, all the 3 lodges are about 60% complete. They stopped because the additional works that were added, which we could not be able to get funding for, we put in the budget. But then when we revised the budget to make sure that we have sufficient money to deal with the drought, those ones were less priority. So we kept them aside. Even this financial year, we had planned to do them. But of course, resources have kept delaying coming. But then again, there is an accumulation of old pending bills and suppliers who have not been paid, which is essentially not only the focus of Turkana, but is a priority for the whole country, as we've agreed with national government, that we should prioritize paying off local contractors and suppliers so that we don't kill their businesses. So these 3 lodges are still a priority. We hope that coming financial year we'll complete them, and then we list them out. Because I don't think we will have that capacity.
You're not the ones who's
to manage them. No, we're going to list them out. We're going to list them down. Meanwhile, we are also encouraging the rest of the private sector to put up facilities, not only in Lodwar, but along the lake, because the white sandy beaches there, wow, they're marvelous. They're marvelous. You've not seen anything as good as that.
As good as that.
Yeah.
Governor, thank you so much for finding time to be here with us. You're watching Citizen Extra. Many thanks indeed for staying tuned, for watching that candid discussion with the Governor of Turkana County, who's also the Chairperson of the Council of Governors, Josephat Nanok. Many thanks indeed for staying tuned. We take a quick break. We'll be right back.